Hi, this is Jim Musser with Upstream Ministries, and this is episode 44 of Views from Downstream. And this week we're talking about some of the observations that I made while serving many years on the college campus, working with college students. And I mentioned on Monday that one of those observations was that the students didn't have really much knowledge of the scriptures or the ability to articulate their faith using the scriptures. And so I want to just focus a bit on how we can go about to change that in our children and young people as they grow up, exposing them to the scriptures. My background was that my parents took us to church, but no one ever read the scriptures and they never prayed. And so I had no idea what the scriptures were about really, other than what I learned in Sunday school and confirmation class, which wasn't much. One of the things that, as you know, I believe that parents need to be the main spiritual guides of their kids. One thing is having the scriptures read in the home, and as the kids grow older, that they can read them themselves as part of a devotional time as a family. But they need to be exposed to the scriptures and not just stories. Now, of course, when they're very young, stories are the best. But once they begin to get older into adolescence, they can begin to more understand Christian doctrine and particularly how it applies to their lives. And that's the other emphasis I would make, is that when we're reading the scriptures to our kids or having them read them, is really ask questions about how do these apply? How would you apply this particular teaching to your life? Get them to understand how the scriptures are meant to impact our lives. And as students get older, I know that in youth ministry, as teens, they're much more capable of understanding the scriptures. Unfortunately, what is happening in youth ministries across the country is those scripture reading studies are very light. There's much more emphasis on having a good time. And I have a good friend that used to be, when I was just out of seminary, was very involved in the youth ministry as a parent, and with his own kids and with other people's kids. And there was always an emphasis on studying the scriptures and how to apply them. And many years later, this man decided to get back involved in the youth ministry. He had left that community where he lived for a number of years, but he and his wife returned and they went back to the same church. And so he immediately wanted to be a part of the youth ministry again and helping to guide young people. And the thing he told me was he was amazed at how little emphasis there was on studying the scriptures. And so he eventually pulled out of it altogether because he was so frustrated that it was just all about fun and very bite-sized pieces of the scripture. And he just couldn't understand that. And that's a thing that we have fallen into in the church, is that we've decided that kids have such short attention spans, they can't handle anything much at all. And so in order to get them to come, we have to provide a lot of fun. And in order to get them to stay, we can't spend too much time studying the scriptures. And so that's one thing, is just to really help kids dive into the scriptures. And that it's hard work, and they will resist it, particularly as they're younger, or maybe in the teens. They will resist some of it, but you're laying some foundations, and it's so important that also the kids see you as parents or leaders really living out the scriptures in your lives, and that there's as I mentioned, there's a missional view of your life. And I'll talk a little bit about that more on Friday, but that they see that following Jesus is not just having a Bible study or just hanging out with other Christians, but it's really following Jesus wherever he leads us. And so that's real important, but we have to expose our kids over their entire childhood and adolescence to the scriptures, and just give them a steady diet. Now, there's all kinds of resources out there how to best do that with your kids, but the fact is it has to be done, and it's best done, particularly in the younger ages, by the parents. And so I just really want to encourage you as parents particularly to get your kids into the scriptures. And again, as I've said before, if you've never done this before, you're probably going to mess up. It's not going to work. You just have to be adaptable, but you have to be persistent. You can't just give up if your kids kind of act bored and they just don't really get into it. Instead of giving up, you find other ways to engage them. But you have to engage them in the scriptures so that they begin to accumulate not only knowledge, but also a way of living those scriptures out. And you will be examples to them, and they will learn how to do that. So I'm going to leave it at that point, and we'll pick it up again on Friday and talk more about helping them learn how to be comfortable with prayer, and as well as finding that missional understanding of their own lives. All right. Have a great day, and we'll see you on Friday.